Well, good morning, everybody. It's a great day. It's a Friday. It's 11 a.m. We're here at KUHS Radio and Television in great North Glen, Colorado. Having a wonderful start of the day. It was amazing this morning. That cool, crisp, mile-high blue sky air was just wonderful. And welcome to the show today. This is 360 Performance. I'm Dr. Whiteman, or Coach to some of you, bringing you those strategies that represent an effort to improve your position, get better at what you do. Glad to have you here with us. One of the things we've been talking about these last few weeks is about staying in the moment, being present, identifying factors that influence you that may diminish your potential for delivering great results, and sometimes enhancing your potential for delivering great results. And every week when we have the show, we start off with a mindset moment, and this week our mindset moment goes like this. Success in golf depends less on strength of body than upon strength of mind and character. So says Arnold Palmer, the great Arnold Palmer, the Golden Bear. What a great ambassador to the game he is, and the development of the game from not just his own skill and representation, but what he has done with the young people, the kids that came up through the ranks, some of them being his own kids. His son at one time, I think, carried his bag for him on a number of tournaments. So that's our mindset moment for today, because we're going to talk about being one with the game. And Arnold's comments about the mind strength, that strength of mind and character, oftentimes are disregarded in trade-off to the physical well-being, the strength of the body first. Now, I'm not saying we disregard that fully, but I think the most important place to start is with the mind in concert with the development of the body. In recent times, Tiger Woods has caused golfers of all ages to be more focused on the body. And as recent for Tiger, his focus on his body is of utmost importance and priority for him. Based on what he's experienced with the car accident that he had, that at one point there was a consideration he may actually lose a leg because of the extensive damage there was to his foot and lower leg. But gratefully, good medical talent and expertise, that didn't happen, but he's got more than his fair share of therapy and considerations for his physical well-being as a golfer. And it's been shown he's coming back, he's trying to participate in the game at the level that he can for the conditions that he has, but it's evidence that the body gets weakened a little bit, and he has to adjust and adapt his mindset to reflect on the conditions that he's facing physically, and that requires the brain to connect with the body. So Arnold Palmer's comment in our mindset moment for this week about the strength of mind and character before the body, but it really depends on the connection of the two. And as I have said many, many times in the past, for us as a collective, if you're on a team, in a community, maybe the community is your team, or you're on a team that you then participate in a community, the growth of that community and team goes exponentially forward as you elevate the power of everybody in that community, both men and women. So I'll extend Arnold Palmer's quote to include the consideration for all who participate in the teams that you are part of. So it's great to be with you this morning. Welcome to 360 Performance. Talking to you today about being one with the game, or your game, whatever that game might be. And in doing so, to Arnold Palmer's quote, how do you manage the emotions of your participation in that game when the competition gets pretty intense, aggressive even, that you are able to sustain yourself within that game and maintain it. Well, here's some thoughts to take a look at when we talk about our theme. And it's stuff that's been in the sports news recently. And as I think about that, we're coming up on a 4th of July weekend with America's birthday. And we've gone through so many different things in the last few years with the pandemic and any number of other things that people are facing globally. But one of those things that is always part of the 4th of July celebration is a celebration that's lit up and sparkling and colorful as it's surrounded by food and beverage and family and bringing everybody together as a collective. So I'm going to give you a piece of wisdom for the 4th of July with all those things being considered. Make sure you hesitate before you touch anything that sparkles. Just a thought, just a little 4th of July wisdom. Make sure that you are aware and you hesitate briefly as you evaluate touching anything that sparkles. I don't want you to hurt yourself, but have fun. Enjoy the 4th of July celebrations. Now, there's going to be a few people that this 4th of July and going through the rest of the summer are going to have just a wonderful time. Should have a smile on their face every single day, every moment that they are awake, maybe even smiling when they're sleeping, because they have been paid a $200 million plus contract for 5 years of performance. You may know what I'm speaking of. They're NBA players that have now, through this contract negotiation times, have earned a very sizable paycheck. 200 million plus. For example, Zach LaVine at the Bulls signed a contract for 5 years, $215 million. That's insane. That's $40 million plus per year. Actually, $43 million plus per year. That's look at. Can you realistically say that you're going to be able to utilize those kinds of dollars? Now, I understand there's taxes. Okay, let's make sure we get that reality out there as well. But that's still a lot of money left over. What are we doing to ourselves when we negotiate contracts to talented people? Don't get me wrong. Zach LaVine is very talented. But what is the value there? Right here in Denver, Jocko, $264 million for a 5-year contract. That's over $50 million per year. What is the value we get for that? Because remember, those contracts are negotiated on what they've done for us historically. And the us is defined as the fan of the team and the NBA and basketball and all those wonderful things. But what is the value that you're getting for that money? Does the contract say that we should be able to watch and measure what Zach and Jocko are going to be delivering for us as towards defined outcomes? In the 5 years, do the Bulls or the Nuggets have any assurances of getting a championship? Now, look, I am sounding critical, maybe even directly critical. I'm just asking questions about how does the lover of the game, keeping the game as your center focus, understand the money being spent if you really love the game? Because if you really love the game and you're getting paid that much money on an annualized basis, what does your behavior look like on the court, in the community, to provide value equal to what you're being paid? In the NFL, similar kind of situations are going on. A lot of money going out. And right now, there are rookie recruits coming in. There's been shifts. Players have been traded back and forth. That time frame is over. but the paychecks are still pretty large, almost equal to, if not exceeding, what an NBA player is now being contracted for. My examples of Zach Levine and Jocko are part of that trend. Now, with that being said, in the NFL, what's hitting the press is not so much the contracts as the behavior. Bad behavior is being discussed and perhaps even litigated, depending on what the behavior was. But the NFL is asking for an understanding, if not a discipline, on those bad behaviors. In general terms, in the pro world, I'm asking, does your bad behavior get a cut in pay? So when you get paid, is there a line on that paycheck that says, well, you went out and beat up a girlfriend, brought bad press against the team, so we're going to deduct $1 million from your paycheck because of that bad behavior? I guess what I'm saying in a kind of a tongue-in-cheek sort of way is, what does it take to shift the behavior or the thinking about your behavior to get it to a level of improved outcomes, that you're conscientious of what you do, what you say out in public, just as a person, part of humanity, not necessarily a professional ball player, that you're just thinking about, am I doing the right things? Because in the college and high school levels across the board of all the sports I've worked with, phrases from coaches, from parents, from administrators are all about behavior, all about emphasizing the holistic approach to being a good person, representing your team at a level beyond the game because you honor the game. I'm just wondering, just asking some questions, poking the tiger and moving fast enough not to get bit. But that's our show today. That's our show theme today, being one with the game, whatever game that you might play. But giving consideration in that oneness, in that thinking through, where's your connection? How do you intersect with your game on a daily basis? Thinking about bad behaviors and all this money that's being paid. And what's the value you're bringing back? Well, today we're going to use golf as our example, our metaphor for the theme of being one with the game. Because I think golf is a challenging sport. It brings a lot of emotions to the table in various types of situations that the golfer finds on the course, because there's so many factors they have to deal with. I've got up on the screen right now 3 example pictures. The first one is with a person that you know, most of us know very well if you follow golf at all, and that's Tiger Woods. And I have had the opportunity to ask this question about what factors distract you. What are the things that you get involved with that distract you? And as well as I've asked high school kids, college kids, and then early young pro players, as well as seasoned pro golfers, about what are the factors that distract you. And when they do distract you, how do you adjust? Who do you look to for help on the course? In many cases, when you're in a tournament, it's just you and the caddy. Now, you might hear voices along the side from whoever might be following you, but that in itself could be a distraction, even though it might be good insight. But you're in the moment. You're one with the game, or striving to be one with the game at that time. And with the picture with Tiger, the thing because this picture is not uncommon to me, is Tiger and golfers like Tiger, when they're trying to be one with the game and just be fluid and flow with the game, that they create the flow and the energy that represents that flow in that given moment. There are expectations there. Well, when things don't go well, you missed an expectation. I expected to make that putt. I expected to follow the line of what I thought was the line to the cup and make that putt. Well, in this case, the club that Tiger launched in the air and kind of goes, looks to the sky, was not a putter, but a mid-range iron. So more than likely, it didn't go exactly as he prescribed it should. with his stance, his approach to the ball, and the line he took to the cup from that mid-range shot. So in that situation, he missed an expectation. What do you do with that? How do you adjust from there? And who, if anybody, can help you? Now, as you think through that, there's also other factors. If you have too many of those missed expectations, it becomes exhausting. You just wear out. And that's what this next picture is all about. But it's appropriate that the picture is golfer laying on their back on the putting surface with the ball just on the edge of the cup, putter in hand, sprawled out on the course, which indicates a frustrated, I've just given up, I've tried so hard, I thought I had it, and it doesn't go in the cup. Little white ball in that cup. It's a challenging game. It takes a certain amount of courage and conditioning. Even though this might sound like I'm disagreeing with Arnold Palmer's quote about the brain and the body connection, it's the strength of character and your mind that needs to be considered first as exhaustion starts to flow into you. As you get on that final day of the tournament and you're in the top, let's say 1 or 2 or 3 golfers, and you're trying to get to the place of leading and winning the tournament, that's when exhaustion becomes part of the scenario. You get tired. Hopefully your conditioning was there for you. But even with the good conditioning and your brain-body connection is there for you, you still might not make that putt. You still might miss it by just a little, because the game of golf is so challenging. That's why I picked it for today, about being one with your game. So many experiences with golf are ones to learn by for any other sport that you might play. Now, I took golf up at a late age. There wasn't a lot of golf courses around when I was a kid. And if there were, in neighborhoods of friends of mine, there wasn't a lot of choice. People didn't choose golf as their primary sport. I was raised during the Chichi Rodriguez days, Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, Lee Trevino, and then it went to Tom Kite and Couples. And there's not many of the golfers that I grew up with that are still around. They were youngsters when I was in college, like Phil Mickelson and folks like that. But Tiger Woods was a youngster. I remember him when he was 5, 6 years old on the Johnny Carson show. That's how far back I go. But the game is the same. That's what's so interesting about today's theme, using golf as the metaphor for the background. Exhaustion can be overcome with that strength of mind and character, because you just center it in, calm it down, so that when you are faced with the other factors like environment, ball goes in the trap, it's sand, it's not fairway, it's not even first cut, it's sand. And I don't know if my ball is a fried egg or if it's sitting up on some hard sandy surface in there. There's all different aspects of the trap that you need to deal with. And it's interesting to me that in the game of golf, the issue of the differences of gender go away. Now, I'm not disagreeing with anybody who says, well, women are built differently than men. Yeah, I get that. But both have to hit the same little white ball. And both have to put that little white ball in as few strokes as possible in the cup, with varying surfaces, different environmental conditions of weather, temperature, and what have you, and you might go in a trap. So gender, to me, isn't a factor in today's theme that has really a lot of basis, because both genders have to do the same thing, put the little white ball in the cup. So the influence of being one with the game is still very much present for both. And the game is still the fewest strokes for the 18 holes over the circuit of the tournament are the ones that win. It's a great game. It's a great game. So when I look back at what I introed the show with about all this money that's being spent on football players and basketball players, well, baseball's been there for a long, long time about how much money's being played. What value do you put on that individual delivering a measurable to justify those dollars? 40 million, 50 million a year, even after taxes, it's still a lot of money. How do you measure that? Well, in golf, the measurable is the deliverable. If you hit it true, you get a greater chance of hitting it on the line that you prescribe for it and getting it to the cup, the little white ball into the cup. But basketball, football, baseball, soccer, lacrosse, hockey, whatever the sport might be, before we get to the dollars and cents, I look at what are the factors that get involved with distracting you from being one with the game. I've listed 3 here. Your own personal expectations, your drive for you, the physical preparation that's going to create how well prepared are you against the exhaustion that's going to be part of the game as it gets closer to the end results. And then throughout that whole process. In golf, it's 18 holes. In many cases, 3 or 4 rounds of 18 holes. The environment plays a part of that. It influences where the ball goes, what kind of surface you're hitting off of. Is it moist or dry? Is the grass bent or straight up? All different kinds of things that they measure now in golf that aren't anywhere near part of the other sports. But I think to be one with the game, you need to consider those 3 components, those 3 factors, and be able to adjust to them as need be. So your awareness of all of these things being present and the preparation you take in enhancing your capabilities so that you are mitigating the influences that diminish you, those are huge, huge parts of it. You got to be ready to be ready. And many times you're ready to be ready on things you don't even know are there until you get there. It's a great game. There's always one shot that brings me back. Oh, man. Let me take a little bit of a pause and just say welcome to today. This is Dr. Whiteman, our coach, coming to you at 360 Performance on a Friday at 11 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time at KUHS, streaming to you with some of the greatest sounds outside of our talk show formats to get some great sounds coming to you. My shout out goes to Nikki Burnett. She's a little under the weather. Be well, Nikki. Have a great day and recover quickly so we can all see your smiling face on the air again. It's also good to have people like Melissa and Sylvia with us on the show here every week on KUHS radio and television. So coming back to our situation, we're using golf to talk about our theme of being one with the game. But I tell you what, any game that there is, but in particular golf, youth. I look at young people as a guidance for how well prepared can I be and what can I do to be prepared? Well, those young kids in the game, in this case golf we're talking about, they have fewer distractions because they haven't lived life as far along as others. So they haven't had to face a lot of these things. They're just purists. They're genuine, without hesitation. So I offer you this thought about that youth have fewer distractions, and they're genuine then in their emotional responses to the game that they're playing and the oneness they have with that game. Like this young person on the putting surface, showing us through his body posture how excited he is to be there. This happens to be at the drive putt pitch. I'm not exactly sure what the USGA does with the kids, but this young man is competing, and it was successful, and shows his success and his exuberance through his success, through his body posture. I don't know that you see a lot of that going on in every sport at the pro level. If I was making $260 million a year, or for 5 years, or over $50 million a year, I would be happy every single moment of every single game, especially when I delivered what's expected of me. Jocko has that shot, he's a three-point shooter. He can shoot a three-point shot, but he pulls up at the most unlikely times because he's a big guy, considered a post guy, right? But you can see there are certain places on the floor he just loves to take a shot. And when he makes it, he knows that just like throws a dagger, just fronts out people. It's a great thing to see because he's confident. He's genuine in his confidence, a lot like this young man. I'd like to see more of that in the adults in their sports, showing that genuine nature of their emotion, as well as seeing activity of and results of the mentor power, the mentoring power. It seems the youngsters, we show and demonstrate the mentors that interact with the kids, but I want to see that same kind of exemplary behavior of the adults and the mentors. You're not perfect. You don't know everything. There are still people genuinely and sincerely with high integrity that you should be listening to and talking to, especially in helping you make the connection of being one with the game. That Arnold Palmer quote about the power is really, the strength is in the mind and the character before the body. Look, and I'm not dissing John Daly, but look at that guy's body, for crying out loud. But the guy makes some shots. He's thinking about the game. He's honoring the game. I hope he would honor his body a little bit more. But it's not always a given. Start with the brain and the character. Be of high character and strength in your thinking and the thoughts as you build the body and develop the body. At one point in time, people like Koepka and Tiger Woods and McIlroy and others, they're really examples of the brain-body connection and making sure it drives and pushes itself. But they've got mentors. They've got folks that they trust that are in their camp, showing them the way to be really part of the game. And setting expectations and practicing your game to those expectations is hugely important. Because when you do that, there's some great things that happen, like smiles. You have the smiles. It is the smiles that come to you when you know you've met the expectations you've set for yourself. In fact, I would contest and argue with people that it's my expectations and the ownership of those expectations that makes me smile the largest of smiles, the more genuine of smiles, because I own it. I have unabashed, very defendable integrity in those smiles, because I did it for me. I didn't do it because somebody told me to. I didn't do it because that's how I was coached. Yeah, maybe a little bit. But it's really that I own those expectations. And when I deliver it because I know I owned it, I'm all over it. It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. Well, there's a young man that in 2013 had a monumental win. And that in that win, he delivered expectations, and that's Jordan Spieth. For those of you watching the show, in addition to listening to the show, you saw the posting up there. Jordan Spieth in 2013 had a major win at the age of 19. And many say that that win launched his career, which then became comparisons that people were making as he continued to win major contests with Tiger Woods. And people asking, is he on track to do or exceed what Tiger did at a very young age? Well, but look at this picture, the exuberance on Jordan's face when he won the John Deere Classic. And by the way, this weekend is the John Deere Classic. 2013 win. And let's remember that this picture, he has a gap wedge, be it a sand wedge, in his hands because he hit out of the bunker a shot that he put into the cup on that green on 18 to put the tournament into a playoff situation, which then Jordan went on to win at the age of 19. And from there, he just escalated it. His emotions, his oneness with the game was genuine and fully there. He delivered on the expectations he had for himself. And I believe because of his age, he had fewer life experiences that got in his way and distracted him. He was genuine in his approach. Like that little young man with his leg kicked up after he made that putt. he was genuine in his approach to the game of golf. Are you genuine in your approach emotionally, in the spirit of what your brain and character brings to the game? Are you practicing that every week, every day of every week, so that you can bring that to the most competitive of situations? Well, in my opinion, the John Deere Classic back in 2013, Jordan Spieth was genuine. He delivered really good results and then continued from there to share those expectations and own those expectations as he conquered some other major tournaments, the Masters, the PGA Tournament, and others. Now, let's bring it to more today. For those of you who can't see the picture that I've got up here because you're just joining us through listening, where are the smiles for Jordan? Is his innocence lost or just kind of put on hold because of all the filters that life has presented him? The thinking process may be too encumbered with the skill sets of the game rather than just relying on his memory, his muscle memory, and the things that got him to this point. Just let him out. Just let him go. Find that pathway to not think it through too much, but just think it through enough so that the strength of your brain power and your mind and your character continues to run through the game and keeping you in that moment. Well, here are some things to remember in trying to stay one with the game. And the first one is, well, in fact, I think you probably relate to all of the things I'm going to list here, but I believe the smiles will come back to anyone who tries to practice these things quickly and without hesitation. You're not making the smile up, is my point. And your innocence will continue to be fresh and looking for opportunity. So here's the first one, your skill, obviously your skill. You've got to get your brain connected to your skill and find out through the execution of your skills, that physical side of the game, where you can find those smiles in those little moments. And not overthink it in that execution of the skill. Just let the skill get delivered in that fluid way that it was intended to, without hesitation or it being encumbered by any other thoughts. It's just a natural flow of things. So skill's the first one, and these are not necessarily in order, because skill will go throughout all of these. You've got to maintain your skill, deliver your skill throughout all of the efforts that you take. So the other one, going back to the slide earlier about exhaustion, you've got to rest. And look at, you can rest within competition. I mean, take the game of golf. You're walking down the fairways, going to the next shot, taking a breath, bringing in the oxygen to help you fuel and burn the calories necessary to fuel the body and the mind to stay engaged in the game. Resting is important. You can rest the mind and the body as you sit there and enjoy yourself in this game. You don't have to be so serious. Bring the smiles back to smile. Have fun with it in those moments between shots. That's why resting is hugely important. Now, obviously, the other part of resting is outside of the competition. You're working out, your fluids and nutritional components. Those are also part of the resting process, the recovery process, if you will, so you can renew yourself on the course and yet not forget to rest while you're on the course. I contend with my athletes that you can meditate as you're walking down the street. You can be alone and resting and finding moments to share your successes with yourself as you're walking down the fairway. And that comes as a part of being aware. You're aware of your surroundings, whether it's the competition within the match or your preparation before the match. You are constantly aware, being aware of form and color and shape. That's the first place, to take a look at your surroundings. I mean, look at golf is such a great sport because of being outdoors and being around these environments that are full of this nature and these wonderful landscape surroundings. It's just pristine. When was the last time, if you do golf, when was the last time you actually touched the greens and feel them? This morning, I had a tour of the Rockies Stadium, and I was out on the field, and I literally got a chance to touch. It's like a carpet, a natural, living, growing carpet. It was amazing. And a smile came to my face. I mean, even during competition, you could do that. Being aware of the texture, the feel, the temperature, the color of what you're involved in. When you're walking down the fairway, do you see the trees or do you see the trees? The texture of the bark, the veins and the leaves of the trees, the number of needles on a branch. Do you see the pine cones mixed in amongst the needles? Now, you might say, what the hell am I doing that for? Because you need to be aware and in touch with yourself so that you can have integrity and a genuine approach to your game. You can feel the club in your hand. As some golfers would say, don't choke the club. You want to have it in your hands so you can feel the ball, you can feel the turn of the wrist and the fingers in your hand, and you're fully aware. You are one with the game in that moment. That's why you be aware. That's why you want to have awareness about where you're at. I hope Jordan has that awareness. In this picture I have here, he's not feeling it. What he's feeling is not part of being aware of being one with the game. So along with awareness, as you're being aware, you're walking down the fairway, taking in the color, the shape, and the form, and maybe feeling the weather, the environment, you're breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth, taking it in at a very normal pace. You're in this moment. As we say in yoga, in this practice, I am feeling what's going on because I'm breathing in and taking shape of what's happening to me. And within that breathing, guess what else you're doing? You're renewing. You're resting. Oxygen is important to sustain the ability for your muscles, your mind, and your body to respond. Nerves, circulatory system, the thinking processes. Oxygenation happens first in brain tissue before any other tissue. Now, why would you think that? Well, because your brain's got to think before you, so you can act and move and make all the things in your body work right. That's why the body does that. You don't know that, you don't feel that, but that's how organically and chemically it happens. So breathing is hugely important to begin to ignite all the things that are necessary for you to be one with the game, to restore the smiles, be aware of the smiles, and have the innocence that you may have lost earlier to come back so that you're ready for the next shot. Whatever you're doing, whether it's in work or sports, when you're going from one moment to the next, have you ever felt that you've been occupied too long in the moment prior? You're thinking about it too much, and you're not moving, you're cutting yourself away from it and going to the next shot, going to the next moment. All right, I didn't quite do what I wanted to that last moment, but I got to move to the next one. Take a breath, take a look at things around me, change my view, don't get too tunneled into vision, take a look at people and things around me. Focus on the skills necessary for the next shot. I'm getting to the next shot. Being aware of my surroundings. It's just very interesting to me, the thought, using golf as the metaphor, the next shot. I golf in a number of leagues, and quite, I'm still recovering from my shoulder, so I've got a little distraction. I'm trying really, really hard not to think about that, and just think about the next shot and what I can do within those movements for each shot. And what's helped me dramatically, I'm trying to practice what I preach, is the awareness piece before I take the shot. The awareness of the movement of my hands, the shift of my body. Because if I'm not going to be fluid enough to flow through it. And I'm also trying to think about, let the body give me what it can. Because I do have some limitations right now. I'm working on it. I'm doing strength programs. I'm doing my yoga. By the way, I missed my yoga this morning, but it was for a good reason. I got to tour the Rocky Stadium this morning. That was awesome. So I want to make sure that in going to the next shot, and that's also a metaphor I'm using. Next shot in golf is where we're sitting with our using golf as being one with the game. But it could be the next shot for you could be that next appointment, that next shot at basketball, that next dribble, that next defensive position. That next preparation prior to going into the boardroom, that could be your next shot. Or you could be thinking about, how do I get the next shot? How do I prepare myself in a way that gets me ready for the next shot that I'm not sure where it's going to come from? Because the next game hasn't been scheduled. It's still kind of a to be defined kind of thing. Boy, those are moments that are tough to deal with. So for a golfer, in relating it to our metaphor for today, it's you're not up on the tee box yet. You're standing on the side next to your bag and your caddy and the people along the rope. And you're thinking about, I'm going to be up pretty soon. Now you can think about the next shot. That would be your driver, right? Or it could be a short iron, or it could be a hybrid club, whatever it is, off the tee box. You're thinking about the next shot off the tee box. But are you? Maybe you're thinking about the score. Maybe you're thinking about what somebody just said behind you. They didn't intentionally direct the remarks towards you, but they were about you. Just imagine that people, when they speak at a contest, they don't really know how well their voice projects itself. So as a golfer, you're within a few feet or less of people who think they have an opinion that merits attention. And they just speak. They just talk because they can, and they're there. And they don't even really think about you, the golfer, who's going to be on the tee box in a moment, and the next shot. But they're not talking about the next shot off the tee box. They're talking about the shot that was before that, or the shot before that. Or maybe it's the shot after this one. If, in fact, you do the shot off the tee box that they expect you to do, like put it on the green within 10 feet of the pin, if it's a par 3. All of this conversation swirling around you. What about that awareness? Should I be aware of that? Because right now, it's counteracting my resting moments, because it's getting kind of tense. How do you stop that thought process in your brain? That's when you change direction. You look around. You focus your attention on something else, because that tends to have a process of shutting down the hearing process, because your brain is focused on finding something else to see. Find it in very high detail. That's where the awareness kicks in. As you're looking for it, continuing to breathe. So I'm setting up a connection between the skills being one with the game and the next shot. Being aware, using breathing techniques as you rest your brain and your body together so that you can ignore that noise and take ownership of the expectations you have set for yourself. I want you to smile. You should want yourself to smile. Smile in every moment you can, so that the innocence is not lost. You can get in touch with that and really look forward to the next shot. It's amazing stuff. So I'm going to bring a quote in here from a notable Hall of Famer, pro of excellence, who challenged a lot of things in her career, not just the game of tennis, but the impressions that the game of tennis had about gender. And that was Billie Jean King. And this is such a great quote. Champions keep playing until they get it right. Then they play more. Now, what I'm asking you to do in thinking about this quote, I'll say it again. Champions keep playing until they get it right. Then they play more. Now, that statement alone means you've got the energy. You're rested. You're ready to go. You are thinking about being one with the game. If you're not, you wouldn't want to quickly play more. But if you are so owning your expectations that when you get it right, you are rushing to play more in your mind, but staying focused on the breathing techniques, setting those good expectations so that you can get so ready for the next shot, down to a microscopic level. Billie Jean King, in her career, gave us more than just excellent shots and aggressive approaches to the game that the opponent was playing. One of the things, and Billie Jean, many of you may not many of you may know this, maybe you don't. She lives in Colorado, or spends a lot of time in Colorado. And I've had opportunities to speak with her, and one of the things that always comes out for me is that it's part of her DNA, I think. She is not only so committed to the game of tennis, but she's committed to the game of performance, getting it right, being one with the game, which is why she was so adamant about her talent and how it can compete with anybody. And the competition she had in that gender battle she had in playing male against female, and proving that it's not a game that's lesser because of female play. Women can hit the ball as accurately and as strongly as any men. And it's been proven time and time again. And we should continue to look at that as a way to understand the game, whatever that game is you're playing, in this case tennis. But with golf is the same way. Golf is a game that really challenges our mind from all different levels, even more than tennis does. I mean, tennis is very similar to golf in the play. The difference is that the environment is kind of consistent. It's not as open to change as golf. And the surfaces, you don't have the environment, it doesn't alter as much as what golf does, but it's got a lot of similarities. A lot of big challenges. So as I bring up Billie Jean King, I also want to remind you of that your future and the success you're going to have in that future is inversely related to the degree of your satisfaction. You don't need to be satisfied. You need to be striving for doing more, especially when you get it right. Because if you got it right, ask yourself, could I have done more, better? Is better more? You know what I mean. Is that all I've got in the tank? If I succeeded right now in doing it right, do I have more in the tank to go to the next level, to level up? Not level on, but level up. Status quo is not something I want to settle in. Status quo opens the door for me to fail and have error that I can't control. I don't want to be satisfied. And you're striving to be great and better. The degree of your success is inversely related to your satisfaction. Go beyond your satisfaction. You'll hear me talk about it quite often, about leveling up. Leveling up from where you've arrived at, think about what's the next shot? What's the next step up? Where can I go from here? As our metaphor talks about in the game, they don't talk about it, but the game is such that in tournaments at the pro level, you've got multiple days of 18-hole experiences. So it's the same course over a 3-4 day period. You come up to the next one. Now, granted, you know, they're going to change the hole placement sometimes, but the course for all intents and purposes is the same. Plus, you've got this little book that talks about the different, you know, the degrees of incline and pitch and all this kind of stuff. Your caddy is there, so you've got some people and places you can go to. But for all intents and purposes, you're going to see the same holes, 18 holes, 3 or 4 different times. So you've got an opportunity built right in there to level up. Par 3, number 9. I'm going to see it tomorrow. Here's what I did today. I'm going to think through it. I'm going to level up. I'm going to be aware of this. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to think about what I can do and own it, my expectations, and stay strong with that ownership. Because as I've said to you guys before, as I say to my athletes, the mantra you should have for yourself every single day when you start your day, it's all about me. My awareness is all about me. I need to be aware of me first before I can be supportive of anybody or anything else. I've got to be all about me, my preparation, my expectations, the owning of what I do, so I can be one with the game. And golf, if you want a game that gives you practice in that, golf is it. So that when you do have those moments, as Billie Jean's quote says, of doing it right and getting it right, you know when and how to play more. It's great stuff. Great, great stuff. And recently, within the last few weeks, a group of young men and coaches succeeded at the NCAA Men's Baseball World Series. Ole Miss took on Oklahoma. I tell you what, I'll stop right there for just a minute before I share the outcome. Many of you may already know the outcome of this at the World Series, is that World Series of softball, World Series of baseball, a lot of great things happened over the last few weeks, but I wanted to focus on baseball because the games in the competition, Arkansas was a great standout for me in watching that, and so was Texas, and other teams that performed during the NCAA World Series in Omaha, or actually in Council Bluffs, but the Omaha Council Bluffs area. It just has such a great environment, and up and coming throughout the summer, you've got kids all over the country competing for their position to go to the Little League World Series, the international games with the Little League down in Canton, Ohio. That's coming up. So there's more baseball coming for the little kids. But this last week, Ole Miss won against Oklahoma in the championship game, beat them 4-2. It was, Ole Miss has been there before, but the outstanding play entitles kids to do this pile up in the center of the field. I don't want to be the guy on the bottom, or the bottom two guys perhaps, that are laying flat on the field and getting piled on by their teammates. It's a show of exuberance, but a cautionary tale perhaps of who's on the bottom and what might happen to them if they don't get off of me. Just, okay, great, excited, we won, let's go, get off of me. But the Ole Miss, congratulations to Ole Miss, and Oklahoma for that matter. I mean, it's a very taxing set of games that you have to play to get there. It's the best of to get to this World Series championship scenario, and it happens in a very short period of time. So being one with the game is part of the process. And Ole Miss delivered with some really impressive hitting. A number of home runs in this game, taking nothing away from Oklahoma's pitching. They were stellar throughout the series until this point, but I would say that the Oklahoma pitchers threw pitches that were tough to hit, but Ole Miss delivered and found it and hit them. In my humble estimation of what was going on, just a great appearance by Ole Miss in congratulating them in their win at the College World Series, the NCAA College World Series. What a great opportunity. Now, as I say this, I want to mention softball. Now, in the Denver metro area, I want you to pay attention in your neighborhoods. There is a group, an organization out of Longmont, Colorado, called the Triple Crown Sports Organization. And they run and manage the softball tournaments that are going on right now. There's a central location in Westminster, Colorado. There's other locations in Broomfield and other parts of the Denver metro area where, a lot like what happened at the World Series, the NCAA World Series for baseball and softball, they have the playoffs where teams play their series, and they win their series, and they get to go and wind up at Westminster at the fields there on 104th in the Westminster Rec Center area. It's right off of 36 and 104th. That's where the championships are going to be. It is an amazing setup. Dave King and his group run this set of tournaments from the Triple Crown organization, sports organization. It is a phenomenal setting. Just go check it out. It's a wonderful setup, and it's happening this weekend prior to the 4th of July celebrations that are going to be happening all around the community. And I hope everybody gets a chance to have some sparklers. But remember my warning earlier, hesitate touching anything that sparkles this weekend. I don't want you to get hurt. But congratulations to Ole Miss. It's such a great place to be here, broadcasting here and creating the show. And as you know, we take our show after today, it's a live show, and we polish it up a little bit, and we send it over to our podcast platform, which is anchor.fm. So check out anchor.fm and look for our podcast, 360 Performance, or just go to your favorite platform, like Spotify, Apple, Google, whatever it is. Type in 360 Performance, bada bing, bada boom. you find our podcast. And you'll find today's podcast. We'll be putting that up there this weekend about being one with the game. And that will mean you get involved. You take some of what we've created today, share it with a friend, have them take a look at our podcast. Or if you listen to today's show, but maybe you missed part of it, you want to rehash something, listen to it again, take a listen to it, and get involved, because we offer some great strategies on how to be better at being you, and helping you with some strategies and methods that enhance those wonderful skills you bring to the table at trying to be one with the game, making the necessary plans and taking action in trying to be the best that you can be on an everyday moment, in every moment that you find yourself in. It's just great to be part of the scene here at KUHS Denver, but it's on the Meta Facebook Live every Friday. Check out the podcast platforms, but that would be on the Meta Facebook platform of KUHS Radio. Check that out, and you'll see our postings there. And you can watch and listen to the show on the live broadcast. It'll be up there on any number of the KUHS Radio Meta Facebook pages. So as we close out the show today, my gratitude and pleasure to work with everybody here at KUHS is always evident. I'm grateful to that support. Next week we're trying to get Hal Sutton on the show. It's been tough. There's been some great tournaments with the PGA tournament, and the U.S. Open was out there. But Hal Sutton, he's got his own golf training school. We're going to talk about golf training, golf methods. Hal will pepper me with questions, but we're going to be trying to get Hal on the show for next week. And we're also going to try to get, after the fact, we're going to get Dave King. He's the chairman of the board of Triple Crown, to talk a little bit about not just the softball programs that he does, but all of the sports tournaments that he does all across the country, but in particular in the Denver metro area. That's what you can look forward to for next week and weeks after. That pretty much does it for today. I'm really grateful for being here and having the fun that I can have. Feel very blessed to be part of this. So have a great day today, everybody. By all means, be safe with the 4th of July holiday, taking care of what you do and how you do it with all the people that you love and care about. So thanks a lot, everybody, for being part of the day today. Have a great day.